This is The After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
A little bit too early, but that's all right. At least something was early on this show today. Hello, everybody. It is a Monday. As a matter of fact, it is actually a hide in your cave Monday. One of those days when you just don't feel like coming out. That's what we do. We'll do that toward the end of the show, but thank you for being here. And I just want to say that I see you, Wes. I saw your PayPal contribution come in, your $5 PayPal contribution today, and I know what you're going through, so I can't believe, oops, and I did that as well. I can't believe that you are here and that you're participating in this, and all I can hope is that it takes your mind off a little bit what's happening in Florida. I was just, and I know we don't usually do politics and the serious stuff on this show, but I do want to say that I saw this toward the end of the Mark Thompson show, and it made me feel a little that this is what's going on where Wes lives. To get the headline up so you guys can see it. This is serious what's going on with Hurricane Milton. They say it's the strongest storm on the planet this year, and it's barreling straight for Florida. It has exploded into a Category 5 storm. So this is some serious business. And I know Wes was thinking about how to handle it, whether to leave, what to do. So yeah, it's pretty scary stuff here. Hurricane Milton explodes into a Category 5 on track to Florida Gulf Coast. That according to CNN. The Orlando mayor has declared a state of emergency in anticipation of the landfall this week of Hurricane Milton. So this is pretty scary stuff. I wonder, Wes, and maybe this is a silly question, but it makes people on the West Coast think when they see something like this, oh, this is horrible. I wonder if it's worse to live in earthquake country or hurricane country. And I know that you've lived in both. So I'm wondering, what do you think? Now that you've had to go through both and deal with both, you're uniquely qualified to answer the question. But that's some scary stuff you've got going on there, having to pack up and get out and kind of, shift your whole life for this. I guess they're coming. So in that sense, you can kind of plan and prepare for a hurricane as much as possible. There's time to leave. Whereas an earthquake, now we have the My Shake app that might tell you a few seconds ahead of time, but there's really not much time to prepare. Maybe you could crawl under a table, you see feel the vibration on your phone. I don't know. Wes says, yeah, we are still deciding. We'll know by tomorrow morning what to do. Well, we're thinking about you, and I'm sure that you guys will be safe. I hope that your home and your property and everything is okay, but that's really scary. Yeah, Jim says, glad you're okay, Wes. Thinking a lot about you during the Helene and now with Milton on the way. Yikes. Karen says, I think hurricanes are far more damaging over a wider area. Well, given what we've seen in Florida and in Asheville, North Carolina, I think that's true. I have there is a music director that was at the community theater where my daughter did a lot of performing. She was the vocal director and her husband was the music director because he played the piano during all the shows live, and helped the kids in the practices, sing and get accustomed to the music. Really, really wonderful people. And they retired and they moved to Asheville, North Carolina, which is devastated now by Hurricane Helene. So she's asking for people to send gift cards, which I just did. But I don't know how else you can help except for, try to give people something that they can use. Nola Fidian says hurricanes happen every year with bad earthquakes only occasionally. That's true. But again, you can't prepare for an earthquake. I would pick earthquake zone because it's what I'm familiar with. But, we're always kind of, the big one is looming over our heads. It's always just kind of there, right? And we saw what happened in 1989 with Loma Prieta and the Bay Bridge partially collapsing. And so, it's scary as well. Deidre says, all of this hurricane damage is making me revisit my earthquake emergency box. I was thinking about Wes as he leaves. Like, he's got to, right now, he has to be thinking and making a list. All right, what are we taking with? What can we fit in the car? Obviously, the animals, all the animal food and, animal beds and things for their comfort, and then important papers. But this is where he is right now, having to think of this. Wes says, I've never lived through a bad earthquake, but I would compare it more to the wildfires. Because maybe in a wildfire, you can't see it coming? Or wildfire season is more comparable to hurricane season. That makes sense to me. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. Deidre says, I store an emergency box in the backyard that includes cash. It's interesting. My husband, who's from Michigan, is kind of freaked out by the prospect of an earthquake. I know he's going to pop in and say something here, which kind of makes me chuckle a little bit. But he takes his preparedness kit very seriously, which someday will benefit me greatly. And he decided that cash wasn't right. It was coins. So those gold coins that are worth $1 each? He went and got coins because those can't, if there was a fire or flood or whatever, like, those would be less likely to be damaged. So we have cash, but we don't have dollar bills. We have just copious amounts of coins. Yeah. And MREs, which are the military food. So that's going to be super tasty in an emergency. But at least we'll be eating. So there's that. Karen says, my niece lives in Savannah, Georgia, and when I contact her during bad weather events, she typically says the bad stuff bypasses them. This time, a big tree fell, grazing their house. Well, she's lucky it was just a graze, I guess, right? Yeah, a lot of people had a lot more. I was watching a video. I don't know if I can find it so quickly, so I'll just describe it, of someone in Asheville, North Carolina, who was videotaping the storm out their window, and there was a building kind of made of that corrugated metal, and the floodwaters came, and the whole building is washed away. You can just see the building buckle, and then as the waters rise, you can see it not just float, but carried in rushing water down, I'm assuming, what used to be a street. And this telephone pole, the metal is caught on this phone pole, and the whole roof of the building is just ripped apart. Wow. I mean, this is serious stuff. So, well, anyway, Wes, I hope that you're okay. Let us know what happens, and I'm sure you'll be okay, but let us know what happens, and we're thinking of you, and just know that you're on our minds. And here he is. I knew he'd pop in. You forgot the pallet of canned water that we have. Canned water won't explode or be compressed, so we'll have water for a week too. Isn't that nice? Oh, and he also bought a portable toilet so that we have a place to pee. So, Nullifidian says, maybe Mar-a-Lago will be washed away. I know. We should never wish bad things on people. That's so awful. I'm going straight to hell, I'm quite sure. So let's go to some of the stories that we have today, because I have a good one in this. This is a feel-good story. Here's the bell at Bud's Bar I don't think it's called Bud's Bar. It's just Bud's. This is in Carmel by the Sea, this beautiful little town on the central coast of California. And one of the things, I saw this article on Bud's in the in SF Gate, I should say, in SF Gate. They have something at Bud's called Dime Time. And it's a throwback to what they've been doing for years and years and years at Bud's. It's the cocktail bar at La Playa Hotel in Carmel. Every single day, they have a happy hour called Dime Time, and it only lasts for 10 minutes. You don't know when it's coming. You have 10 minutes, and you have to pay for your drink with an actual dime. You can't pay for it in, dollar bills and make change, or a quarter or anything. You've got to have a dime on you. And you never know when it's coming. You have to follow the rules, but you get your drink for a dime. So there you go. It's the one time people can say, I'll buy the bar around. This is according to Mark and Rose Hospitality, which owns La Playa now. There are locals that know, and so they always have dimes with them so that they can do just that. This is a legendary thing in Carmel, Dime Time. People go and they just hang out there to see if dime time is going to happen. Here are the rules. Number 1, when the bartender rings the bell that you see on the screen, it's dime time. And for the next 10 minutes, cocktails are 10 cents. There's a plaque at the bar that says this. Number 2, the bell rings once a day at the bartender's discretion, no exceptions. There are also rules that the only acceptable tender are dimes, that the bartenders won't make change. And lastly, it says you may compel the bartender to ring the bell by serenading the bar with a classic Carmel story or with a minimum $100 bribe to bring this month's featured to this month's featured charity. So they have a charity they feature every month. So if you donate $100, then they'll ring the bell and everyone gets drinks for a dime. I thought that was kind of fun. What a fun thing to do in Carmel by the Sea. And again, this is at La Playa. So I know we have some folks in Carmel and on the Central Coast that are partiers here on the after party. So if you go down there and you manage to hit dime time, let us know. The former owner of Bud's, his name was Bud Allen. They say he was such a big character in Carmel that even 15 years after he died, people are still telling stories about him. His happy hour was from 5 p.m. to 5:10. Martinis were a dime, but you had to pay with a dime. And if you didn't have a dime, you paid full price. They say he was a prankster and he was a very generous, kind person, but he liked to have fun. So they said at the new owners of La Playa, they said the more they learned about him, the more inspired they became. So we decided to bring the tradition back and just make it dime drink hour. It's been back for about 4 years and it's gotten more popular as time has progressed. So, yeah, dime time in Carmel. That might make me actually go to Bud's, I think, if was happening through the Carmel area. This story that's kind of creepy. Oh, here's a bigger picture of Bud's. There it is. It's always full. People are just waiting for dime time. That's what they're doing. Well, from fun times at the bar to not so fun times underwater, this is called a Paku. This creature was caught, pulled to the surface, and found to have a mouthful of teeth, which is not so common. Yeah, this angler reeled in this toothy fish from a creek in Maryland. It's kind of unusual. This is a fish with a full set of human-like teeth. Initially, the fisherman said he thought he caught a sunfish in Conococheague Creek in Kemp's Mill, but he looked at the fish and he realized this thing has a mouthful of teeth that look like human teeth. He sent pictures of the fish to the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. They identified it as a red-bellied Paku, P-A-C-U, a South American fish related to the piranha. These fish, the Paku, are not native to Maryland waters, though they have been spotted in the state's waterways 7 times since 1995. The Department of Natural Resources says Paku are frequently kept in private aquariums and that was likely the origin of that fish that was caught. The spokesperson for Natural Resources said the fish was most likely released from someone's aquarium. We never encourage people to release their pets to Maryland's waters because of the threat of introducing a species that could establish itself or the threat of introducing disease as well. There was an 11-year-old boy last year that caught one of these fish, a Paku, in a neighborhood pond, and they think that was likely an illegally released pet as well. I don't know. There have been 7 of these things caught. I'm thinking maybe something happened and they took hold. I don't know. Can you imagine getting bitten by that fish with a full set of teeth? Lord. This is a story, this next one, about a elk. Elk? It was a moose that was rescued from a backyard swimming pool. This poor guy fell into the pool. Oops, I'm sorry, I have that. That is incorrect. He fell into the pool and underneath one of the pool covers. So was having a hard time getting out. It's not that he wouldn't have been able to climb right out of the pool, but because of the way that he fell in and that there was a cover on the pool, rescuers had to come out and help this creature. So here is the video of this. You can see. Let's see if I can play it for you. And here's what happened. Oop, I have it. There it is. Here's what happened when this poor moose got trapped. You can see they're trying to roll back the cover and get to this moose. And there he is in there. Phew. Once they get the tarp off of him, or the pool cover off of him, he's able to get out. This happened in New Hampshire. The firefighters had to be called out to this home of a resident who found a moose trapped in their swimming pool. They say the moose was taking a little dip. Yeah, and there goes the moose. All is well. The moose gets out okay. Just needed a little assistance there. Scary for a moment. It was an adult moose that was under a pool cover, and the moose walked out of the pool on its own. You see there, left the area. No further action needed to be taken. They say the resident did the right thing by not trying to help the moose without assistance, that somehow that could have gone poorly. Which is interesting, because I think my first move would probably have been to just pull the pool cover off and let this moose go. But hey, if you need help and something scares you, then you got to do what you got to do. But I thought that was so cute. You can see him there. I'm sure he was stressed out, so that's not good. But they say they'd like to remind residents moose can be very dangerous animals due to their size, so that they do appreciate that the residents called for help to assist with the situation. And they say they're very pleased that no people or animals were harmed in this incident. So all is well with the moose in New Hampshire that took a little unexpected dip in the pool. A good picture there. This I thought was a fascinating story. Check this guy out. First of all, absolutely beautiful, this creature. This is a gecko. And scientists have discovered something really interesting about geckos, and it is that they have a sixth sense. They have a really sophisticated auditory system and a hidden sensory talent that is like a sixth sense. These geckos can use part of the inner ear associated with maintaining balance and body positioning called the saccule. I don't know if I'm saying it right. It's S-A-C-C-U-L-E. Saccule, to detect low-frequency vibrations. And the researchers say this special sense plays a complementary role in their normal hearing and in the way they sense the world around them. And they think this might also be present in other reptile species. This study is published October 4th in the journal Current Biology. So the ear, as we know it, hears airborne sound. But this ancient inner pathway linked to balance helps these geckos detect vibrations that travel through mediums like ground or water. This according to the study's co-author, University of Maryland biologist Catherine Carr. She said this pathway exists in amphibians and fish, and now it's proven to be preserved in some lizards as well. Their findings shed light on how the auditory system has evolved from what you see in fish to what you see in land animals, including humans. I wonder if that's why some animals maybe can sense vibrations in the earth before we can. I don't know. They say the geckos are masters of balance, and we know that. We've seen them. If you've been to Hawaii, you've seen them clinging to walls. They have little sticky hairs that line their feet and toe pads. Internally, they use this saccule, which can detect faint vibrations that range from 50 to 200 hertz. The spectrum is well below what geckos can usually hear with their ears alone. So this means that this saccule likely serves a distinct but complementary function to their auditory system. Very interesting. They saw how these geckos responded to various stimuli in the lab, and how this saccule appeared to help them pick up those sounds. They say, unlike other reptiles, that geckos can hear airborne sounds, or sounds that travel through the air in the form of sound waves, not just the vibrations. But figuring out how this sacules role in how they hear could lead to a better understanding of their communication and behavior, and those of other animals as well, previously believed to have maybe more limited hearing or senses. They say a lot of snakes and lizards were thought to be mute or deaf, in the sense that they can't vocalize sounds or hear sounds very well. But it turns out they could potentially be communicating via vibration signals using this sensory pathway instead, which completely changes the way that scientists have thought about the way animals perceive things overall. So this is kind of a big discovery in the world of biology. So interesting. They also are looking at how vertebrate sensory systems evolved. The transition from aquatic to terrestrial environments involved, they think, a more gradual, complicated change in hearing mechanisms than they ever realized before. So, yeah, it was interesting. And they compare it to, they say it's different from the way humans hear, but that there are some comparisons. So they look at when you're at a concert, and it's so loud that you can feel your whole head and your body vibrate in the sound field, so that you can feel the music rather than just hearing it. And we know that people that are deaf or have hearing issues sometimes listen to the music by feeling those vibrations, right? The feeling suggests that the human vestibular system may be stimulated during loud concerts, meaning our sense of hearing and balance may also be linked closely as well. So, they're hoping that this discovery kicks off more investigations into the hearing of mammals and how our sensory pathways work. So, there you go. But I thought that was fascinating, that geckos have a sixth sense. Plus, what a cool picture, right? There's somebody with a heck of a fallout bunker in Las Vegas. I mean, this thing is wild. It looks like it's straight from out of the past. What you're seeing looks like outside. No, that's completely underground. So this is this 1970s Doomsday bunker in Las Vegas that was documented by a British photographer. His name is Alistair Philip Wiper. And he's documented this fallout shelter in Las Vegas that has a 4-hole putting green surrounded by faux pine trees and painted scenery. It was built in 1978 by this extraordinarily rich dude, this millionaire rather, sorry, he's only a millionaire. His name is Jerry Henderson. So the Doomsday bunker stretches across 1,400 square meters. He lived in this house, Mr. Henderson, for 5 years with his wife up until his death in 1983. And that was kind of the height of when we were really worried about nuclear bombs falling. But, U.S. and Russia were involved in this ramp up of nuclear warheads. I don't know if you remember in the 80s in school, we had to do these drills where we had to hide under our desks as if that would help with nuclear war. This man thought all people would be better off living underground, not just in case of an apocalypse, but in all situations. The shelter reflects the era in which it was designed, with details from decorative luminaries to statement pink curtains and toilet seats evoking 1970s interiors. And it really is a blast from the past. So there you can see the standing inside, looking at the putting green and the kind of the faux rocks they have underneath. There's the outside. They've got the underground pool and the faux trees. Here's the bathroom. It's very fancy with this chandelier. Here's another shot. This is looking outside as well. I mean, this guy went all out. Hey, I guess if you're going to live down there, you want it to look like a house, right? There's a swimming pool, 2 hot tubs, a dance floor with a pole, because, gotta have your stripper pole. A 4-hole putting green, a bar, a barbecue, a sauna. It seems like Jerry liked to party. The house is made for entertaining, not a house designed for a recluse. There are artificial pine trees, faux rock walls emulating an outdoor garden space, painted backdrops depicting lifelike landscapes surrounding the shelter, lighting simulating different times of day with details like the pool and the garden picked out with colorful fluorescents that add to really what is the eccentric nature of this place. Again, here's some of the photos. So it's all lighting and backdrops. I mean, it's wild that this is underground, that this is a bunker. But I guess you can kind of trick yourself into believing that everything's normal and you're living outside. Wild. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, said the photographer. But if you have a penchant for over-the-top kitsch, insane color combinations, and James Bond villain lair aesthetics, then you would be in heaven at this place. This underground Doomsday bunker in Las Vegas is now owned by the Church of Perpetual Life, which is an organization involved with cryonic preservation aiming to extend human life. That's just crazy. The photos taken are part of this ongoing project called How We Learned to Stop Worrying, which is about architectural interpretations of the word nuclear. The photographer says he's looking for all sorts of unusual locations associated with nuclear, and when he said, when I came across this house, it fit perfectly. It was so eccentric and flamboyant. So, kind of interesting. Speaking of design, though, what about this? How cool is that? It's a skyscraper. I know. It's hard to believe. Very strange skyscraper. And this is just a concept at this point. So this is a rendering of what it would be. But it's a system called ecological programming to optimize green architecture. This conceptual skyscraper has multiple planted platforms. It's called Eden Tower. It was designed to illustrate computational abilities, and they have renderings and models of this structure showing a series of stacked circles with a central core supporting some of the levels directly. Others are suspended from columns that ring the edge of these stacks. So it's pretty tall and pretty interesting. It'll be interesting to see if anything like this ever gets built, but it kind of feels futuristic in a way, something you might see in a sci-fi movie. I thought it was kind of cool. Here it is. This is the photographic rendering, but here is the wooden rendering, the smaller version of it. You can see this child looking up at it. So it is cool. I guess if all of our earth is too toxic to grow things that we're going to poison ourselves, with microplastics and whatever else, maybe we need to come up with a place to plant things where we can keep everything clean. I don't know if that's the point of this. It makes me think about it. The structure, they say, is a demonstration of a technique they call ecological programming, which uses computation to generate layouts accounting for sunlight, wind, contamination, and other factors in order to optimize the health of the ecosystems and positive benefits to a city, from increasing biodiversity to improving urban heat. They're figuring out, they say, how to create master plans, building layouts, building forms that increase biodiversity and resilience and ecological thriving. And they've designed this or devised this new approach for this so-called ecological programming. This done by a studio called Oxman, Design Studio Oxman. I thought that was interesting. We'll stick with designs for just a moment, although let's go back to that one picture again because it's so fascinating to look at that. Can you imagine having that in your city? Something else when you look at the ways to protect the world. This is a bioplastic floor. And it's really, really strong. Really strong. Yeah. Kind of interesting looking. Maybe they can make it look better. I don't know. This new architectural marvel is made of wood waste and bioplastic floor, and they say it has the strength of steel. Researchers working with shop architects have created a potential alternative to steel and concrete as a structural floor material. Recyclable panels made entirely from bioplastic and wood flour. This prefabricated panel made using 3D printing by researchers at the U.S. Department of Energy's Oak Ridge National Lab and the University of Maine as part of a SM2Art public-private partnership. This floor cassette panel is better for the environment, quicker to manufacture than similar steel and concrete elements, which are often used in multi-story buildings. The researchers started working on this cassette, that's what they call this floor, this cassette, after prompts from shop architects to explore the potential of bio-based materials and additive manufacturing for mass-produced floor panels. They saw the precedent in the aerospace industry where they introduce new technologies within small parts and expand outward to the whole. Then they applied that principle by isolating a building system product, a light gauge steel floor cassette assembly, from an existing supply chain partner to benchmark its replacement with a single solid state printed bio-based part. They made it using polylactic acid, which is a bioplastic derived from corn residue, which they mixed with wood flour made from lumber processing waste. The floor panel's strength comes from the combination of these two materials as well as its geometric shape, which distributes load to its outer edges where it would rest within a building's steel framework. So adding the wood flour to the bioplastic increases its stiffness significantly. They say what we can't achieve with material properties alone, we account for with structural design, and you can see that in the underneath section. A flat plate of steel may suffice for something that couldn't be replaced with the same geometry of PLA, but a PLA piece could potentially be designed that could also do the job as well. So according to their testing, this cassette has the same strength as a typical steel concrete floor fabrication, and they say it's biodegradable and it's nicer to walk on too. So there. They say the channels for wiring, plumbing, and ductwork can be printed during the manufacturing process, removing the need to cut those out after assembly is completed, so that would save time and money as well. This cassette took about 30 hours to print, and it's estimated to cut down on labor by about 33%. And we move forward with kind of another design story, but it's a little more wacky. This is a giant replica of a Polly Pocket house. You know what Polly Pocket is? It's a kid's toy. Little tiny dolls and little tiny houses with little tiny things. Except this one is life-size. It was created by Airbnb. It's in Massachusetts. Airbnb is doing this thing called their Icon series. So they've created this life-size rental version of a Polly Pocket compact toy, which includes mock-up versions of clothing, oversized furniture. I mean, it's very specific. It's very much the same, down to all the little details. It's located in Littleton, Massachusetts. This rental created to resemble a full-scale version of a Mattel Polly Pocket. They've got a series of small plastic compacts that contain theme environments inhabited by a doll. Here are some of the pictures of this you can see here. So there's a close-up of the fridge. I don't know, life size. It looks bigger than life, larger than life. There it is in this little field. And you walk up to it. Look at that. Now, in the toy, that lid would snap closed. Here, I don't think it snaps closed. But you can see some of the details. Giant plastic furniture, a kitchen, a plastic TV. And I don't know if I guess you can rent it out and you can stay here if you wanted to. Look at that. Here it is at night. All lit up and glowy looking. They even have this little thing, which is kind of like an outdoor lounge area. Pet bed area. Yeah. The rental is composed of an open-air platform, a towering 42-foot tall back wall, modeled to resemble an open compact, as well as a small tent where the guests actually sleep. So that's where you go to sleep. Visitors enter up a series of steps into the living room, which contains toy-like furniture in shades of monochrome teal, magenta, and lavender purple, organized all around a yellow rug. There's Polly's closet, where they have scarves and dresses along a back wall. It's so wacky. But I'm sure there will be people that rent it. There's Polly's closet. You can go in there. So there you go. You want to rent this out, sleep in the tent, wander around, hang out at night in the giant living room area? You can. I don't know who would want to do that. Would you want to do that? Okay, we're getting late in the show, and I don't want to leave without making sure that we get to our Hide in Your Cave Monday. I have 3 caves to present to you today. And the first one is in Thailand. Okay, how cool is that? Really cool. I'll answer for you. That's pretty cool stuff right there. This is considered to be one of the most beautiful caves in the world. And according to Architectural Digest, this is Phra Nakhon Cave in Thailand. It is 110 miles southwest of Bangkok. The Golden Kuha Kuruhas Pavilion is bathed in natural light. It was built in 1890 for the visit of King Rama V. They say it's an enchanting spectacle in a lush setting, accessible via foot from a Lam Salah beach. This underground world feels, they say, like the setting of a fairy tale. And it looks that way to me, too. It looks fake. It's so incredible that it looks fake. How beautiful. Okay, the next cave we have is in France. Beautiful in a natural way, not because people have gone down and done this amazing thing. This one is in France. Look at that and those pools. So amazing. This cave is Grotte Saint-Marcel in France. It is listed as a National Natural Heritage Site. It was listed so in 1934. This is in southeastern France, one of the most spectacular natural caves in the world. There are more than 40 miles of galleries and caverns, home to rock paintings that date back 20,000 years. The Grotte Saint-Marcel appears to have been used by Neanderthals as early as 40,000 years ago. The cave has many basins and pools, a series of roughly 100 calcite basins that form this cascading waterfall that you see here, adding to its unique atmosphere. Just wow. I know in this life that I will probably never be standing anywhere to look upon this, so to see it here today is our only, for many of us, our only opportunity, and just wow. Can you imagine bathing in these pools and this waterfall inside this cave that's that old and with that much human history, or Neanderthal history, I should say? Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And the third cave I found to show you as well is also in France. And this one is called the Padirac Chasm in France. They say this is an extraordinary site in France's Dordogne Valley, and it is the country's most famous natural underground heritage site. Hard to believe after we just saw the other one. This is a vertical entry which plunges into the earth, passing through a verdant cavern that's been carved out through erosion caused by water pouring down this rocky opening that you see here. The immensity of the chasm, 340 feet deep, can feel like entering the center of the earth. And when you reach the bottom, you find a turquoise underground river. What? You do. There it is. There's your turquoise underground river. I know. The world is incredible, right? The Patarac Chasm in France. This is the underground river that runs through that chasm. If this is hide in your cave Monday, I could hide out there for a while. Definitely. Yeah. So again, we have one in Thailand and we have two in France. How incredible is the world? And that, my friends, is Hide in Your Cave Monday. I wanted to get to this last story before we go. This is one about an old wedding video. One of these stories that make you thankful for the internet, because before the advent of the internet and social media, these people would have never seen their wedding video again. But after 57 years of marriage, this couple had their wedding video returned to them. They were living in Scotland, and they moved to Australia. They're thankful for this simple Facebook post. This man's name is Terry Chain, of Aberdeen, Scotland, said he had amassed a large collection of Super 8 films over the years. Most of them he shot himself, but he decided to have his collection transferred to DVD in April of this year, and he discovered reels of a wedding between two people that he did not recognize. So he posts this image, this still image from the film, on a local Facebook group, but 6 months went by with no leads on who these people are. The photo was recently shared to a group for natives of Aberdeen's Maastricht area, and that's where it came to the attention of Eileen Turnbull. She's 77. She lives in Brisbane, Australia, or do they call it Brisbane? She said she'd only been a member of the Facebook group for 5 minutes when she spotted her own wedding photo. She said, I was looking through Facebook and up came this wedding photograph. My husband was sitting there and I turned to him and I said, there's our wedding photograph. She and her husband married in 1967 at Maastricht Church in Aberdeen before later moving to Australia. The couple said they only watched their wedding video one time before discovering that they accidentally left it in a borrowed projector that they had returned to the owner. That projector belonged to this man's uncle, the man that now has the projector and was working on all of these videos. So that's how he ends up with their wedding video. She said, I messaged Terry and it just grew from there. His uncle was the guy we'd borrowed the projector from to see the film after the wedding. And the uncle had worked with her husband. So that's how they knew each other. Mr. Chain sent the Turnbulls a digitized copy of their wedding video. And here's what I thought. I mean, it's nice to see your memories of your wedding, but here's what I wouldn't have thought of. She said, it seemed strange for me to see my mother and my father, not just in a photograph, but there, actually moving and walking around. And my husband saw his grandmother and his grandfather. They were 100 when they died. She said seeing the video after 57 years was amazing, and she still can't believe it. So what a treasured gift after 57 years to get that back. And thus ends the after party. That made me a little emotional. Thus ends the after party live. I'm going to the chat. Journey to the center of the earth. Yeah, exactly. They look super young. I think they were super young. They're only in their 70s now, late 70s, and they've been married for 57 years. So they were pretty young when they got married. Trevor says, I would be so claustrophobic in any of those caves. Maybe not this one. This one looks a little open, maybe, perhaps. I don't know if this one would make you claustrophobic. Maybe just being surrounded by all that rock. I don't know. I think they're so wide and large. I don't know if, I mean, maybe, but it's not like this one I could see. Okay, that's a little claustrophobic, perhaps, and especially in the way they've taken the picture. In that, it might be deep, but not wide. But these other ones are pretty wide. I don't know if you'd have that same feeling, but maybe. Teacher Lori says France almost has some of the oldest cave drawings in existence. Yeah, that would be a cool segment. Cave drawings around the world. Well, Hide in Your Cave Monday is expanding wonderfully. Sasem and Baja, around 10,000 years old. Ooh, that's cool, Teacher Lori. Thank you. Nullifidian says, I was 11 in 1957. That was the year I canoed 600 miles down the Sabine River. You're a cool 11-year-old. Karen says, as long as I don't have to crawl through a cave, if you could walk, it'll be okay. Well, you don't have to, because now we have it all for you on Hide in Your Cave Monday. So I know it's not like being there, but kind of. I mean, pictures we wouldn't see otherwise, right? Yeah. Thank you again to Wes for the $5 contribution to the show via PayPal. The PayPal link is in the show description, and it's also in the About tab here on the After Party. We missed you today, Heather, but we'll see you tomorrow for the Travel Tuesday portion of this show. Of course, join us tomorrow at 11 a.m. on the Mark Thompson Show. It's going to be a good one. We'll have David K. Johnston on the show, which is always a really fun discussion. Jefferson Graham will be on the show as well. And then again, Mark said, for those who are wondering when Tom Hartman will be on the show, he said Thursday that we'll have him on. So just make a note of that, because he's wonderful as well. All right, everybody, go out and make it a really, really great rest of your Monday. Don't hide in your cave. Well, maybe hide in your cave. It's pretty hot out there. Keep it cool. And I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.